It started with a single email, 4 words that changed everything. Meet me in HR. No greeting, no subject, just that. I stared at it for a full minute, the cursor blinking like a pulse at the edge of my screen. I'd learned long ago that in this company, silence wasn't peace. It was the breath before an ambush. The morning had been normal. Coffee too bitter. Inbox too full. The usual polite lies exchanged in hallways. My team, 6 people who trusted me more than I deserved, were already at their desks, unaware of what was coming. By the time I reached the HR office, I knew something was wrong. The air was too still, too rehearsed. My manager, Vanessa, was already seated at the end of the conference table. Her posture said authority, but her eyes said something else, fear disguised as control. "Take a seat," she said, smiling like someone who had practiced empathy in a mirror. I sat. She slid a folder toward me, her nails tapping the surface with deliberate calm. "Corporate restructuring," she began, almost bored. "We're tightening operations. Your department's costs are unnecessary." I blinked. "Unnecessary?" She nodded, still smiling. "I need you to terminate your entire team by Friday." The room tilted slightly. "All 6? "Yes, you'll remain, of course," she added quickly, as if mercy could soften the order. "We value your leadership, but we need lean efficiency." Her voice carried that managerial tone, the kind that made cruelty sound like business strategy. I didn't speak for a long time. In my head, I saw their faces, the people she wanted gone. Eli, who stayed late to fix what others broke. Marina, who balanced work with caring for her sick father. Aisha, who still called me sir, even after I begged her not to. They weren't just employees. They were the only ones keeping the department breathing. "Is this final?" I asked quietly. Vanessa tilted her head. "You're a team player, aren't you? This isn't personal." That was her favorite phrase. Not personal. But in that room, with the blinds half closed and her perfume lingering like control, it felt personal in every possible way. When I left the office, my hands were trembling. Not from fear, from restraint. The hallway outside buzzed with casual chatter. No one knew that by the end of the week, half the floor would be empty. I walked past my team, forcing a smile that didn't belong to me. They looked up, expecting morning updates. Maybe a joke about the broken coffee machine. I couldn't meet their eyes. Instead, I said the only thing I could. "Team meeting in 10. When we gathered, I closed the blinds just as Vanessa had. The irony wasn't lost on me. They sat in a circle, tired, hopeful, unaware. The same people who had built them, impossible out of late, nights and underfunded budgets. "I just came from HR," I began. My voice cracked and I swallowed hard to hide it. "They want X," Marina frowned. "Restructure? What does that mean?" "It means," I hesitated, feeling every word cut like glass. "It means they want me to let you go." Silence. Not shock, just disbelief trying to find a place to land. Aisha whispered, "All of us?" I nodded. Eli leaned back, exhaling sharply. "Figures. We do all the work, they take the credit, then we're the problem." No one argued. No one cried. That's what broke me. The quiet acceptance. The kind that only comes from people who've seen this game before. But what Vanessa didn't know, what none of them did, was that my team wasn't ordinary. They weren't just analysts or assistants or techs. They were something more. Something she would never see coming. I looked at each of them, one by one, and said softly, "Don't panic yet. Just trust me for a few days." Eli narrowed his eyes. "What are you planning?" I smiled faintly. "Nothing illegal. Just a little truth." As they left the room, the tension hung like smoke. Outside, Vanessa walked by, pretending not to notice us through the glass wall. She smiled, the kind of smile people wear when they think they've already won. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in the office long after the lights dimmed, long after the cleaning crew left. The city outside blinked with indifferent life, while I opened a folder on my laptop labeled simply, "Legacy Protocol." A project no one in management knew existed. It was built for moments exactly like this. The next morning, Vanessa walked into the office early, too early. Her heels clicked down the hallway like a metronome, counting down to someone's end. The moment she saw me, she smiled that corporate smile again, all teeth and pretense. "Good morning," she said brightly, like we hadn't spoken yesterday. "Any progress on the transition?" I met her gaze. "Not yet. I need a few days to wrap up ongoing projects." Her brow lifted just slightly. A few days? Unless you want to explain to corporate why we're missing $2 million in pending contracts. I replied evenly. My team has the files. She paused, weighing whether to challenge me. Then she laughed softly, that fake, managerial laugh that smelled of perfume and politics. Fine, end of the week. I'm trusting you to handle this delicately. Trusting me. The words almost made me laugh. When she left, I turned toward the glass wall of my office. My team was already working, heads down, fingers flying across keyboards. None of them looked like people about to lose their jobs. They looked like soldiers pretending the battle hadn't already begun. I watched them for a long moment before walking out. Conference room, I said quietly. Now. They followed without a word. Once the door closed, I plugged in my laptop and projected the legacy protocol file onto the wall. Eli frowned. What is this? I took a deep breath. Something we built 2 years ago, off the books. Remember when upper management refused to invest in the data automation model? Marina nodded slowly. You mean the one we built ourselves on weekends? That's the one. I clicked through the files. Code, analytics, user logs, all pristine and untouched. This system runs the department. It learns, adapts, and protects our internal data. Without it, the company's entire client base goes blind. Aisha looked stunned. You're saying, if we're gone, they lose everything, I finished. Which means we hold the line until they realize what we're really worth. Eli smirked. So you're playing chess now? I'm just making sure no one walks out like they never mattered, I said. But it wasn't just strategy. Legacy protocol wasn't a safety net. It was something far more personal. Each of them had coded their own layer into it. Each piece was unique to their skill set, encrypted under their initials. It wasn't just a system, it was them. Vanessa wanted to erase names from payroll, but she didn't realize each name was tied to the backbone of her entire operation. We spent the next 2 days quietly reinforcing the network. Backups, hidden logs, shadow servers. Every time someone from upper management walked by, we smiled, answered emails, played the part of obedient employees. But beneath the surface, the machine hummed. Loyal, alive, waiting. By Thursday, the tension was visible. Vanessa started visiting my desk more often, pretending to check in but really watching. The HR director passed by twice, whispering into her ear. Something was brewing. That afternoon, she called another meeting. The moment I stepped into her office, I knew it wasn't good. HR was there again. And this time, so was a man I hadn't met before. Expensive suit, cold eyes, corporate shark. James, Vanessa began sweetly. This is Mr. Keller, regional oversight. Mr. Keller offered a handshake that felt like a contract with no fine print. I understand there's been some hesitation with the staff changes. I didn't respond. He continued, we expect transitions to be smooth. Any delays affect projections, and projections affect bonuses, yours included. Vanessa smiled faintly, like a teacher letting the principal do her dirty work. I understand, I said calmly. But these employees manage essential systems. They can't just be replaced overnight. Keller's expression didn't change. Then prepare documentation for replacements by Monday. Vanessa's voice softened. Don't take it personally, James. Business is business. There it was again. Not personal. I walked out before I said something I couldn't take back. The hallway felt smaller, the lights harsher. Back at my desk, Marina was waiting. What did they say? Monday, I whispered. Her eyes widened. That's in 3 days. I nodded, which means we don't have much time. That night, the office emptied early, all except us. We stayed under dim lights, whispering like conspirators. The legacy protocol glowed on the screen, pulsing with quiet defiance. Eli typed fast. If they lock us out Monday, this will trigger a full data mirror. Everything routed through our encrypted drive, Aisha added. And it'll send an automated report of every system. Error tied to management interference. Marina looked up at me. You're really going through with this? I hesitated, then nodded. They wanted to treat us like we were nothing. It's time they learn who we are. No one argued. Not this time. Outside, the city lights flickered like distant applause. The hum of the servers sounded almost alive, like something holding its breath, waiting for the moment to strike. Somewhere above, Vanessa probably thought she was ending a chapter. She had no idea we were writing the next one without her. Friday came with a stillness that didn't feel real. The office lights flickered awake like they knew something was about to end. Everyone moved slower, quieter. The kind of quiet that comes when people sense danger but can't name it. Vanessa showed up late, wearing confidence like armor. She smiled as she walked past the cubicles, scanning my team as if already deciding who would vanish first. Then she stopped at my door. "You didn't file the termination paperwork," she said simply. "No," I replied, "because firing them would crash half the company's systems." Her smile sharpened. "No one is irreplaceable, James. Not even you." Before I could answer, she placed an envelope on my desk. "Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation for unauthorized data activity. IT found traces of hidden code on your account." I froze. Legacy protocol. She'd found it, or at least a shadow of it. Vanessa stepped closer, her perfume biting the air. "You really thought I wouldn't notice? Compliance will handle the rest. Security will escort you out." I stared at her, at the satisfaction in her eyes, and for the first time I understood. She wasn't protecting the company. She was protecting herself. I didn't argue. I just walked out. 2 guards flanked me as I passed my team's desks. Marina looked up, panic flooding her face. Eli half rose from his chair. I gave him a look. "Stay quiet." Outside, the cold air hit hard. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. "You shouldn't have trusted them, V." I almost laughed. She thought this was over. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the blinking cursor on my screen. I'd lost everything. My badge, my title, my name inside that building. HR would rewrite the story, make me the villain. Vanessa would walk in Monday like the hero who saved the department. Then a notification appeared, our encrypted team chat, one that no one but us could access. "Eli, they locked us out. Full admin rights revoked. Marina, she's transferring all our projects. Aisha, we're being erased." I typed only 2 words. "Activate failsafe." A few seconds later, the city lights flickered. My phone buzzed again. Not a message this time, but a headline. "Major internal blackout at Haverly Tech. Data systems unresponsive." Vanessa had accused me of manipulating the network. Now her empire was choking on its own arrogance. Still, it wasn't victory, and not yet. Because she didn't know who my team really was. She thought they were analysts and coders, people easy to replace. What she didn't realize was that every one of them had once been part of the system she was trying to exploit. Whistleblowers, data architects, people hidden behind fake titles for their own protection. She hadn't fired employees. She'd declared war on the very people who built the truth she was hiding. That night, I met them in a quiet cafe, rain whispering against the windows. Their faces were tired, but there was something fierce behind their eyes. "She thinks it's over," I said. "But by Monday, she'll know who she tried to erase." Outside, thunder rolled through the city, low, steady, final. And just like that, the game shifted. The cafe was half empty, lights dimmed to a golden hush. Rain streaked the glass like moving shadows, each drop carrying the weight of everything we'd lost, and everything we were about to take back. Eli leaned forward first. "So what's the move, boss?" His voice was low, steady, the way it gets when anger finally turns into focus. I looked at each of them, the 6 people. Vanessa had tried to erase, and saw more than employees. They were the pulse behind the company's empire, people the system used, discarded, and underestimated. She took our names off the payroll. I said quietly, "Let's put hers somewhere louder." Marina frowned. "You mean?" "I mean exposure. Real, clean, undeniable truth. Everything she's buried in those compliance reports. The ghost accounts. The fake vendor deals, the kickbacks. We pull them out of the shadows and let the system tell its own story." Aisha bit her lip. "That data's protected. We'd need executive-level access." I smiled faintly. "That's why we built Legacy Protocol the way we did. It's not just code, it's a key. Every one of you locked a piece of it under your initials. Together, it can open anything in the network." Eli cracked a grin. So she fired the only people capable of exposing her. Smart move. We spent the next hours bent over laptops, our reflections flickering against the dark windows. Each keystroke felt heavier than the last. The cafe owner wiped tables, pretending not to notice the storm brewing at our corner. By midnight, the plan was alive. Step 1. Access the archive layer, the company's hidden server that stored erased logs. Step 2. Trace every financial irregularity tied to Vanessa's credentials. Step 3. Push the evidence through the company's own audit AI, set to publish its findings automatically on the public dashboard Monday morning. No leaks, no hacks. Just truth told by their own system. Before we left, I looked at them and said, "Once it starts, there's no turning back." Marina met my eyes. She turned it back the moment she lied to HR. We walked out into the rain, quiet and determined. The city lights blurred in puddles like fading constellations. Somewhere in a warm apartment, Vanessa was probably celebrating her victory, unaware that the countdown had already begun. The weekend passed in fragments. Hours of code, calls made in whispers, cross-checking old files and security clearances. Every time doubt crept in, I reminded myself what this was really about. Not revenge, but recognition. They had worked in silence for too long. It was time the silence spoke back. Sunday night, the final piece slid into place. Aisha's eyes gleamed behind her monitor. Transfer complete. The audit AI goes live at 9:01 a.m. Eli leaned back, exhausted. And once it runs, it can't be stopped. Not without deleting the entire company database, I said. And even then, backups will replicate the results. It's bulletproof. Marina smiled faintly. You really planned this years ago, didn't you? I looked at the clock. Let's just say I've seen too many good people thrown out by bad ones. When they left, I stayed a little longer, watching the screens fade one by one. The hum of the servers sounded like a heartbeat in the dark. Vanessa wanted my team gone. She'd get her wish, just not in the way she imagined. By the time she arrived at her desk tomorrow, they wouldn't exist in her system. But their names, their work, their truth, it would be everywhere else. And she'd have nowhere left to hide. Monday morning felt too quiet, the kind of silence that comes before the air changes shape. The sun hadn't even cleared the skyline when I walked into the office, coffee in hand, pretending everything was normal. Vanessa's voice was already echoing from her glass-walled corner, crisp and sharp like broken glass. She was on a call, pacing with that smug, untouchable rhythm she always had when she thought she'd won. I passed her office without looking. Not yet. The rest of the floor stirred slowly, monitors humming, phones lighting up, keyboards clattering. But something in the atmosphere was different. It wasn't just Monday exhaustion. It was tension, invisible, electric. At 8:59, the company's main dashboard, the one displayed across every department screen, blinked. Once, twice. Then the color shifted from blue to red. At exactly 9 ink, the words appeared. Automated audit report, internal fraud detected. A collective gasp swept through the open office. Chairs scraped. Conversations froze, X. They were watching a live broadcast of the apocalypse. I sipped my coffee and waited. The report unfolded line by line. Transactions, vendor payments, approval chains. Each one stamped with a familiar signature. Vanessa Crane, Chief Operations Manager. Her door swung open so hard it hit the wall. She stepped out, face pale, jaw locked. What the hell is this? Silence. Then someone muttered, "It's from the audit system. It's real." She spun toward me. "Did you know about this?" I shrugged, keeping my voice calm. "It's an automated compliance check. Happens every quarter. Not like this." She snapped. "This data's restricted." The crowd was watching now. Even the interns had stopped pretending to work. Every glowing monitor in the room displayed the same damning trail. Offshore accounts, ghost vendors, falsified signatures. Her empire was collapsing in real time. Within minutes, IT was summoned. Then HR, then legal. The entire upper floor seemed to fold inward. A controlled implosion of panic and whispers. Vanessa tried to fight it. "These are fabrications. Someone's tampered with the logs." But the audit AI didn't argue. It simply kept listing entries, each one time-stamped, encrypted and verified through the company's own servers. There was no debate left to have. I stayed near my desk, calm, invisible. I didn't need to gloat. The truth was louder than any revenge speech could ever be. By 10:30, the boardroom blinds were drawn. By 11 security had arrived. And at 11:07, Vanessa Crane was escorted out of the building, her ID badge deactivated before the elevator even reached the lobby. I watched through the glass as she passed, head high, trying to preserve whatever fragments of dignity were left. But behind her, a trail of silence followed. No goodbyes, no sympathy, just the hum of machines that had finally told the truth. The team started messaging me one by one. "Did it work? She's gone. Can we come back?" I didn't reply right away. I just looked out at the skyline, sunlight slicing through the glass, reflecting off every building like quiet applause. We hadn't destroyed her. We'd simply let her destroy herself, with her own numbers, her own lies, her own signature. And in a system built on deceit, that was the purest justice imaginable. But the story wasn't over. Because as her shadow vanished from the lobby, an alert blinked on my screen. One line of code that shouldn't have been there. It was tagged under my own name, and suddenly I realized she hadn't gone quietly. The alert pulsed in the corner of my monitor. Faint, almost harmless, like a blinking heartbeat in the dark. But when I opened it, the message wasn't code. It was a single sentence. "Did you really think I didn't prepare for you?" My pulse slowed. She'd left a ghost in the system. For a moment, the office noise faded, footsteps, chatter, the low hum of victory still circling the room, all dissolving into a strange, heavy quiet. I clicked deeper into the file. It wasn't part of our protocol. It wasn't part of anything. Then I saw it. An encrypted data string, disguised under my own credentials. It looked like I had authorized several of the same fraudulent payments we'd exposed her for. The trail was clean, seamless, and time-stamped to make it seem real. Vanessa hadn't just fallen, she'd built a safety net, one designed to catch and drag me down with her. I leaned back, forcing myself to breathe. If I panicked now, she'd win even from outside these walls. At 1:30, I was summoned to the boardroom. A man from legal sat across from me, flanked by two people I didn't recognize. Their expressions were calm, polite, too polite. "We just have a few questions," one of them said, sliding a tablet toward me. "Your digital signature appears on these transfers." I looked down. My name glowed on the screen like a curse. "I didn't make those," I said evenly. "Someone planted them." The woman raised an eyebrow. "You're suggesting a framing attempt?" "Yes, from the person your audit removed this morning." A pause. Then the man from legal sighed. "You understand how that sounds." Of course I did. It sounded like desperation. The kind Vanessa had predicted. I'd feel when the walls started closing in, but she'd underestimated one thing. She wasn't the only one who planned ahead. I opened my laptop, slid it forward. "This is Legacy Protocol, the same system that triggered the audit. It logs every access point, including forged ones." Within seconds, the screen filled with data. Traces of her ghost sessions, her hidden edits, the backdoor she used to plant the false trails, and then the key, her final login attempt, time-stamped less than an hour before she was escorted out. The silence in the room deepened. One of the investigators leaned forward. This proves she tried to shift the blame." "Yes," I said quietly. "She wanted her story to end on her terms. But truth doesn't bend that easily." The woman from HR exhaled slowly, her eyes softening. "You realize what you just did, right?" I nodded. I closed her last loophole. By evening, my team was officially reinstated, their access restored, their names cleared. And though Vanessa's name was now a whisper in hallways, a cautionary tale, I knew she'd still be out there somewhere, watching the empire she tried to own crumble without her touch. As I left the building that night, the city lights shimmered against the wet pavement. The rain had stopped, but the street still carried its reflection. Like the world had been scrubbed clean of something ugly. Eli texted me just as I reached the corner. "We did it." I typed back one line. No, the truth did. And for the first time in months, I let myself smile. Not out of victory, but out of peace. The kind that comes when the storm finally runs out of lies. Still, as I walked away, a thought lingered in the back of my mind. The code she left had been clever, almost too clever. Someone like Vanessa didn't build something that intricate just for one last stunt. Maybe she wasn't done yet. Maybe the next ghost was already waiting. The office had a strange stillness in the weeks that followed. Not the tense, fearful kind that used to hang over us like invisible smoke, but something quieter, cleaner. Every morning when I stepped through those glass doors, I could feel the difference. People actually looked up now. They greeted one another. The hush of submission had been replaced with a low hum of collaboration. Cautious, but real. It's strange how fast a workplace can change when the rod is cut out. The same walls, the same desks, the same endless rows of screens. But everything felt lighter, like the air itself had been rewritten. And yet, even in that newfound calm, her shadow lingered. Vanessa. Her name had become a ghost story whispered in break rooms. Some said she'd vanished overseas. Others said she was suing the company. A few claimed she'd already started a new business under a different name. But none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was what she left behind. The lesson she never meant to teach. I used to think people like her were born powerful, that confidence, manipulation, and authority were things you either had or didn't. But the truth is uglier and simpler. People like Vanessa aren't born powerful. They're just better at pretending they are. They build towers out of fear, out of people's silence, and then convince everyone that the tower is indestructible, until one day someone whispers the truth, and the whole thing falls apart. When the board quietly reinstated our team, they called it a procedural correction. HR sent us form letters, filled with polite language about grievances, addressed and trust, rebuilding. They wanted to move on, to bury the chaos under paperwork and polished smiles. But I didn't want to move on. Not yet. Every evening after everyone left, I stayed behind, just me and the faint buzz of the servers, revisiting every log, every trace of her presence still embedded in the system. I wasn't hunting her anymore. I was trying to understand her. Because somewhere between the forged reports and the fake accounts, there had been moments of brilliance. She was intelligent, strategic, ruthless in ways that, under different circumstances, might have built something remarkable, but she'd chosen shortcuts, lies, masks, and for all her control, she couldn't control the one thing that truly mattered, the loyalty of the people beneath her. The same people she underestimated had become the architects of her downfall. That irony haunted me more than anything. One night, as I stood by the window overlooking the city, Marina walked in, quiet as always. She'd been my right hand since the beginning, the voice that kept the rest of us from giving up when everything fell apart. "You ever think she'll come back?" she asked softly. I smiled faintly. "People like her don't come back. They just reinvent." She nodded, leaning beside me. "You think we did the right thing?" I looked at the reflection of the office in the glass, our team's desks, the glow of monitors, the faint echo of laughter from a meeting room down the hall. "We didn't do the right thing," I said after a pause. "We did the necessary thing. Sometimes that's enough." Marina looked down, thinking, then smiled. "Still feels like justice." "Justice," I repeated quietly. "Yeah, maybe that's what this is." But the truth was, justice isn't clean. It never is. It doesn't come with applause or closure. It comes with questions, heavy ones that don't fade. I still caught myself wondering if I'd crossed a line, if exposing her had been about principle or vengeance. Maybe it was both. Maybe it always is. Over the next few weeks, subtle things started changing. The company began adopting new transparency policies, open reports, anonymous audits, fair recognition systems. My team was asked to help design them. It felt poetic in a way. The very system she tried to manipulate was being rebuilt by the people she tried to erase. But every victory carries weight. Sometimes I'd wake up at night and remember that message she left in the code. "Did you really think I didn't prepare for you?" And I'd wonder, what if that wasn't a threat? What if it was her way of forcing me to become something stronger than she ever was? Because whether she meant to or not, she'd taught me the most important lesson I'd ever learn in corporate life. Silence is the sharpest weapon there is, and the moment you stop being afraid of it, you take away their power. A month later, I got a message from the CEO himself. A single line that read, "Leadership isn't about control. It's about what you leave standing when control is gone." I stared at that message for a long time. Vanessa had left behind chaos. I intended to leave something better. Now, every time I walk past her old office, the one they turned into a shared innovation room, I can still feel her ghost there. Not in a haunting way, but as a reminder. Power without empathy collapses, and truth, no matter how long it's buried, always finds its way to the surface. That's the real legacy. Not hers, ours. And maybe that's what this story was really about all along. Not revenge, not downfall, but the quiet reclamation of what it means to stand for something when no one else will. Because sometimes the real act of rebellion isn't destruction, it's rebuilding. This is Karma Unfolded, where every secret finds its reckoning. Don't forget to subscribe.